Okay, so in this lesson, I'll give you an example of props in the real world. What we're going to do is pass a single prop called name to our TacoCard component, and that name prop will represent the taco's name. So right now, as we talked about in the previous lessons, our three taco cards have a bunch of hard-coded data, including the taco's name. And that, of course, makes the component not very flexible and dynamic. I want to be able to customize the name that we display right here, and right here. And we're going to be able to accomplish that with a prop. So the syntax for declaring a prop is actually pretty simple. It's the exact same syntax that we use for attributes in HTML. So for example, here in our app component for our div, we write our attribute name, then we provide an equal sign, and then the assignment, right? It's going to be the same thing for a prop. The only difference is these props are specifically related to the idea of components, so they can be passed to components, not to regular HTML or JSX elements. But other than that, the syntax is the same. So if we want a prop, for example, called name, and that is up to us, I simply write the name prop, that is the name of the prop. In this case, it is coincidentally also name, right? Then I provide an equal sign and the value I want to pass down into that component. So in this case, my first taco, I want to actually be Crunchy Taco Supreme. But now for my second taco card, I'm going to give it a name prop set to a different value. And this one is going to be Doritos Taco Supreme. And then for my third taco card, I'm also going to give it a name prop. And that value for that name prop will be Soft Taco Supreme. So when I save this, nothing is going to change on the right-hand side, but that should hopefully make sense. We are passing in this prop called name. We are passing in this piece of data called name into our taco card, but we're not actually doing anything with it in the actual taco card component. So now let's utilize this prop in TacoCard. So let's go ahead and open that component file up. And you might be curious, how is this component going to get access to the props that its parents have given to it, right? The way this works in a functional React component is the very first parameter to every single component function is going to be an object that we can call props. So it's important to note that this is a complete object, a JavaScript object, where the properties are going to be the props that the parents pass down. So right now, this is going to be a JavaScript object with one key value pair, and the key is going to be, for the first taco card, a name, and the value is going to be Crunchy Taco Supreme. And for the second taco card, it's also going to get a props object, and that object is going to have a name property set to Doritos Taco Supreme, and so on. So what do we want to do with this props object? Well, right here is where we are actually writing the name of the taco. So rather than hard coding Crunchy Taco Supreme each time, I want to interpolate or inject the name that I got from my parent. So whenever we're doing any kind of JavaScript, as we know in JSX, we have to provide the curly braces. And then we know that we have a props object that is coming in through our parameter list to this component. It's the first parameter to the function. And we know on that props object that each time that TacoCard has been rendered by our parent app component, we have gotten a name property, and that name property will be on our props object. So now when I save this, you'll see on the right-hand side, each taco has its own different name. So once again, we are passing in a single prop called name. All props that we pass down, no matter how many there can be, for example, 3 props on this line, or 5 or 10. It doesn't matter how many we pass in, they're all going to be captured in a single props object that is going to be the first parameter to any React functional component. And once we have access to that object, we can simply access the properties that we care about that we defined on the parent that is passing them down, and then simply reference them in line or do something with those props in the body of our actual child component. So now you can see on the right-hand side, we have that little bit of dynamism because each parent is giving us a different taco name. Or to be more specific, each instantiation or each rendering of the TacoCard component from the app component's perspective is giving us a different value for the name prop. All right, so hopefully that makes sense, and I will see you in the next lesson.